Hey everyone, welcome to the E2 Effective Elders podcast. E2 is devoted to coaching your elder team to win by providing biblical and practical resources in authentic relationships. E2 wants nothing more than to equip you to move God's kingdom forward in the place you're serving Jesus. Visit us at e2elders.org and please share this good word with others.
Hey everyone, thanks for joining us here at our E2 podcast. We are so grateful to CDF Capital for making this possible. CDF Capital has been a longtime partner of E2 Ministries, and we want to thank Dusty Rubeck and his team for investing in elders across the country and around the world. And also, I want to thank Mark Houpt. Mark is joining us today on our podcast. Mark is a longtime friend, and he's a huge champion of E2. Mark is our board chair. Mark, thanks and welcome today.
Thank you, Gary, and thank you for CDF as well for making this all possible. It is my honor to be here, and it is my absolute privilege to serve with E2, serve the kingdom in this manner, and watch us and watch other elder teams grow.
Yep, absolutely. And we are in this podcast series that's using the NFL season as a foothold. You know, the NFL season is kicked off. What's that jersey you got on there, buddy?
I knew you would ask that question. So here I am with the Washington Deadskins, and we've called them that in their bad years many times, but certainly this year, where we have removed the name entirely, so we're now just the Washington football team. But yet I still cling to my jersey, my John Riggins and Joe Theismann days, Joe Gibbs especially, a good man of God, Joe Gibbs, as coach. So I'll cling to my memories of the Redskins and call them the Deadskins.
Yep. And I've got on my Indianapolis Colts jersey. It's for Andrew Luck, number 12. But and his tenure with us was quite short-lived. But you know, having been here in Indianapolis for more than 30 years, we remember the Peyton Manning days. And
we do.
Coach Dungy, great man of God, who loves Jesus in a huge way. So, you know, there are powerful men who love the Lord who are in the NFL. And so, you know, at E2, we put together a great resource called an Elders Playbook. And in this playbook, there are over 50 plays that elders can draw on to move their team down the field. And Mark, tell us, if you were a coach of an elder team, what would be one of your favorite plays in this book for this season of life that we find us in currently?
Well, I've got a couple different plays in there that I absolutely love, but let's talk about play number 19 with information technology, since I have a strong 30-year background in that subject. How about that one?
Yep, information technology it is. Why is that important to elders?
Well, you know, a few years ago it was not important to elders. You know, elders dealt with, or the church itself dealt with, hey, let's put up a website and that's about it. But here we are in 2020, and even before 2020, let's say in the last 5 years, technology has become absolutely important to spreading the gospel and ensuring that the message is professionally put out. But here we are in 2020, where that's been elevated to even further with the situation with COVID, where many churches are being relegated, in some cases forced relegated, in other cases by just circumstances, to present their entire worship services through technology. So there's a number of things that we have to consider with that. Number one is resiliency and uptime, making sure that the product is professional and out there, not just picking whatever simple tool exists. Knowing the technology that you need behind that, such as the right cameras and the right microphones and the right mixing boards to put that up on inside of an IT environment. Everything from the internet lines using to transmit that to even the back office is what we call it, the back office functions, which products to use for producing documents, PowerPoint presentations, or keynote type of presentations, different things like that, different software pieces out there to manage your finances, not just Quicken, but there's church finance and church IT packages out there that will allow you to manage and maintain your church inventory lists of assets, but also understand and maintaining your people and staying in contact with your people. So elders can use IT in lots of different ways, but much like everything else in this world, IT has infused everything we do in the church. And if you're still a church that has not embraced IT and found volunteers and found professionals to help you through that, you are probably a struggling church, which means that I need, or you need, Gary, to get in there and coach these teams even better on that type of function. So that's IT is an integral part of what we do these days, and COVID has only ratcheted that up and emphasized that more.
Yeah, even as you say, COVID has pushed us even all the more aggressively into IT. E2, we have filmed now 2 conferences that are completely virtual. And we're going to be live streaming those conferences. One, as a matter of fact, in just a few weeks from now, on October the 24th, Saturday morning, live streaming an entire conference. And then again in January, 2 different conferences, and Zoom, everybody's living in Zoom rooms. So churches, if they are going to advance the kingdom of God, they must leverage information technology, no doubt about it.
I would say leverage and embrace information technology, because one of the phrases that I say in business is, I'm going to win. I don't know how sometimes I'm going to win, but I'm going to win. And we cannot allow the circumstances of our world, our culture, to impede the movement forward of the gospel. In fact, if we were to embrace this information technology, we were to embrace Zoom and Facebook and other types of social media, LinkedIn, for example, we can promote and push the gospel forward through these problems. One of the things I learned in boot camp was improvise, adapt, and overcome. So I'm former military. And when there's a problem that's put in front of you, don't just shrink back like Eeyore and say, oh, well, we can't do anything about it. Instead, think about the alternative methods to come around that and tackle that, and take advantage of that. And IT allows us to take advantage of that right now.
Yeah, in a huge way. Absolutely. So elders in a church, if they were to take their next step, now it may be that churches where they are serving and leading already has an IT platform. Any practical steps, in the article, we've got do's and don'ts of IT. It's a great list. It's a good starting point. It gets everybody on the same page, thinking in terms of IT. But let's say that you are an elder on a team, the church has an IT platform. What might you suggest as a next step for elders?
Right. So there's a lot of, as you said, there's a lot of practical and wonderful advice inside of the playbook. I'm going to take it a little bit of a step further beyond the playbook in that, because we wrote that playbook prior to COVID. So let's talk about where we are now. Number one is, yes, absolutely. The elders are responsible for the spiritual just the spiritual movement forward and health and wealth of the church. Okay. So we can never lose sight of that and never allow IT to take over that. But IT should be, as we've said before here, the leverage point. So that's number one, is that we should always keep that in mind. And that's what the elders need to be thinking. Number two, is that most elders are not IT professionals and not involved in IT, understanding methodologies and various tools that are out there. My recommendation would be that elders look towards professionals that are that could volunteer within their churches who do these things in enterprise or other types of environment that they can advise. find someone who is a professional in the IT environment that has good leadership skills, that can do good projects and project management. Stand that team up almost like you would a deacon type of situation, where you officially create a subcommittee and identify that professional as the leader of the IT strategy for the church. Mm-hmm. That sometimes can be the worship minister. A lot of your worship ministers have some IT background, mm-hmm. but I've also found that a lot of the worship ministers have some very, very strong limits on understanding the IT mm-hmm. background. Theirs is typically around the creative development and function of that IT mm-hmm. And what happens on stage on Sunday morning. So mm-hmm. don't overlook the professional that's sitting inside the enterprise environment that's dealing with servers, networks, workstations, and the entire spectrum mm-hmm. of IT as being your leader instead of your worship minister. Mm-hmm. So that would be kind of on the don't side of things, or at least on the consider it strongly side of things. So that's number one, is stand up a qualified team to lead and advise the elders on this. And then from there's a whole host of other things that we could talk about, but that leadership, a good leadership team will take you forward in identifying strategy, identifying mm-hmm. specific goals. Mm-hmm.
So what I hear from you would be that as elders, we need to champion IT. We need to absolutely invest in it, champion it, make mm-hmm. sure that it is going to be a tool in the local church for advancing the kingdom. And, I would just add one thing before we hang up. From my travels with E2, I encounter elders all across the country, and I have a spectrum. I know some elders who are gifted in IT. They use it in their business, whatever. But then I also, to the other end of the spectrum, I have met elders who barely know what email is.
Right.
They are intimidated by IT. And so just as you have said, let's champion IT, I would also encourage elders, you know what, if you have elders who are intimidated by IT, even if it's the simplest thing of, doing an email on a phone, mm-hmm. learning how to do a text, learning how to copy and paste a URL into an email to send to somebody else. I think that we need to mentor.
Absolutely.
We need to mentor elders to bring them into this 20th mm-hmm. century using IT to advance the kingdom of Jesus. So, what can we do to mentor elders who need to be brought along in IT? Mm-hmm.
Well, we could take a lesson from history. Number one is, let's take a look at 500 some odd years ago, and when leaders of the church didn't have printed Bibles, for example, mm-hmm. and they had, we had Gutenberg and others start printing the Bibles, mm-hmm. and people actually having to sit down and read it themselves. So you're absolutely correct, is the mentoring. First of all, what we need to do is talk to those leaders and get them over the hurdle that they don't have to know everything. Mm-hmm. Right. And they, in fact, mm-hmm. don't even have to know anything, but they need to be humble enough to sit at the feet of others who do, to learn the very basics. Yep. Those of us that are IT professionals need to be very humble towards those leaders as well, mm-hmm. and not think of them as ancient dinosaurs, not calling them names like that, mm-hmm. And sit down and potentially even put together sets of instructions, that's little cards or little documents that people can have by their side while they learn this process. Mm-hmm. So when I'm teaching people IT, I show them how to do it through a demonstration, and then I sit them down and I allow them to do it while I'm over their shoulder. Mm-hmm. And then third, I will allow them to do it on their own with me close by, so they can reach around and ask a question if they have to. And then finally, the fourth is where they're doing that on their own, but I'm available to refresh them if necessary. Yep. So if we take that same mentality of, it's not a one and done training training session. It's not a one and done conversation, but something where, much like when we're preaching, we have a hook, book, look, took type of situation. We need to be able to hook these folks in. We need to show them the technology that can be used, and then we need to give them something that they could take away with a little card or little document that they can refer to themselves. Let's face it, just because somebody's not technology savvy does not mean that they are dumb. It does not mean that they are a dinosaur. It means that they are an expert in something else. And perhaps we as technology professionals need to sit down and learn from them as well in order to properly communicate to them.
Yes,
so
absolutely.
that's the method that I would go about teaching these individuals, these smart, wise individuals that we have as elders.
Yep. All right. So I'm going to assume you who have made your vocation IT. Would you be available if an elder had a question?
Absolutely. I would love it if elders had questions.
Okay.
I could, obviously I may not be able to stand there with you, but I will do as much as I can to help you get through this. I can talk to you as a C-level employee involved in security, information security and IT with a nationwide cloud hosting provider. I can guide you through everything from strategy to picking the right solutions and delivering those solutions. So yes, I'm here to help.
Very good. So Mark, M-A-R-K, at e2elders.org. Anybody's got a question for Mark, our brother in Christ, the board chair of E2, he wants to hear from you. Mark at e2elders.org. Hey, Mark, thank you. And everybody remember that during this series this fall, while we're talking about our Elders Playbook in the podcast, they are on sale. They are greatly discounted on the website. 20% off. Enjoy us. Have a great day, Mark. Enjoy the game that's coming up and cheer on your team.
I will do so. Thank you.
You bet. Bye-bye.